Hi there, Nick Dutch here. I maintain in this recording that religion and atheism are grey subjects. Neither one nor the other is superior. But what is the point of religion? Well, what is a human being after all, apart from part of the society? What if things don't work out well for that individual? Then are they more likely to become dysfunctional and a burden to society? The answer to that is yes. So, therefore, does it or does it not make sense that there should be within society a free at the point of need method to deal with issues that humans go throughout their life? The answer again would be an emphatic yes. Should this thing be malleable with many different divisions and subdivisions designed to deal in different ways with different human issues? The answer again is yes. Therefore, I contest that there really is a place for religion in society. The thing is that this narrative of religion has not been used intelligently. Prejudices have become rife, the message has become twisted, and an out-group versus in-group or in-group versus out-group mentality has sprung up, and it does harm to the very methodologies that should or could be there to do some good to the society and the individuals in society. Fortunately for you and me, the issues between atheism and religion are so complex that I can't hope to even scratch the tip of the iceberg of the issues involved in one YouTube video or my entire YouTube career, or possibly even my entire life. However, and this is me speaking for myself, not for anybody else, if I was to choose between the two, either atheism or religion, and if it was that black and white, which for obvious reasons it is not, I personally would choose religion. And by that I mean any religion, or to be more precise, any appropriate subdivision of the aforementioned religion that was suited to my purposes and stage of development at the time, considering my own personal goals, what I wanted to achieve for myself, and the kind of individual I aspired to be. This will be based upon my own self-knowledge. The human animal can be considered to be a walking, talking mind, a complex machine that is intangible in nature, but rests for its survival on a fleshy brain. The brain acts upon instincts and drives, as well as inputs, most of which are too numerous to mention, all of them interlocking and overlapping to create a whole model, which is the individual. As the mind changes and grows, the brain changes its structure and gets reborn anew every moment of the day. The mind changes and grows as a result of these inputs, many of them beneficial and stimulating, many of them thoroughly undesirable. These more undesirable instincts serve to upset the balance of the mind of the human, making them find it harder to be a balanced and well-rounded individual. There have been numerous models of the way the mind is constructed, and one of the many well-known ones is the Freudian tri-part model. To call it a gross simplification would be an extreme understatement, but for illustrative purposes it will suffice. In its lower levels there is the id, a part of the mind full of many primitive instincts for security, food, shelter, and sex, amongst others. And above that we have the normal waking consciousness called the ego, which is of course influenced by the id and the forces above, which is called the superego, the region of higher moral reasoning, the authority figure in our own psychological makeup that we all have. It is a three-level model, and is similar to the cosmology of certain popular religious faiths, and probably there is a reason for this. Have you ever had a moment with a colleague in work, or a best friend, who used the phrase, "I am in hell"? And have you stopped to think what they mean by this? Does it mean that they are literally in a lake of burning fire, or they are being poked in various places in their anatomy with pitchforks? Certainly not. But one can sufficiently extrapolate, and reasonably so, that they are in a situation that is undesirable, and their basic needs are not being met. They are experiencing emotions, primitive instincts, and therefore something from the id, something undesirable, and can't necessarily find the way out of this hell that they find themselves in. You as a friend would probably want to help, and you may go through a few stages. Firstly, to comfort and remove from the sufferer some of the emotional baggage that they feel, to allow clarity of thought, then to motivate them, to help them get out of the situation, and then to guide them out of the emotional mess that they find themselves in. If you were, for instance, their parent, you might even attempt to sculpt their life, so that the negativity of the past cannot be repeated. Religion itself has similar methodologies already embedded in it. Different scriptures have been written, or seem to have been written, with that process in mind. But with the good, there is also the bad. And some scriptural texts from all the world's major religions are in fact despicable, in the fact that they have been written with hatred amongst another at their core, partially due to the history, the ancient history of those particular religious ideologies, and not the present. Because the bad texts are interspersed with the good, should not distract us from seeing that there can be more good that can come out of religion than bad. But it is a question of how that can happen, and how it does happen, that the issues really are here. The actual religious process itself seems to have been created with the adjustments of the mind of the practitioner at heart. If you were to take into account the action of a preacher at a pulpit ministering to the congregation, can you not see that there are aspects of behavioral and cognitive counseling therapy techniques being deployed? It is there without any doubt. The discipline of reading text and going through a contemplative process as a result of it has been absorbed from religion into various self-help and therapeutic groups, and as such been shown throughout history to be beneficial as a therapeutic tool. But we must not forget that it came firstly from religion. So you should be able to see that the process of being religious has a rich tapestry of ideas that are present for the purposes of adjusting the structure of thinking of the human individual for some purposes. There is text contemplation, the mind-altering activities of prayer and meditation that works on a different level, listening to the speeches of the clergy. On top of that, there's also worshipful activities which, although silly to the eye of an onlooker from a different culture, seem to have yet another kind of mind-altering effect to motivate and lift the spirits. Now, you've got a fair understanding of what a religion comprises, or seems to comprise, and a brief sketch as to the level of human consciousness, or the levels of human consciousness. And we can see that actions of a person of faith seem to be quite rich and varied. But with the diversity of ideas that are present in the world today, alongside the good there is also the bad. If the method of the religion is there to adjust the mind and the values of the human individual, then we have to think about any particular message and any individual who is portraying a religious message and what goals they're trying to accomplish. Are they good goals? Is the way that that religious pundit in question is portraying a message is trying to adjust your life for good and to turn you into a better individual in society? And in what ways? In what ways are you changing through hearing and reading the various religious messages? In what ways are the texts and the activities that you're doing actually good for you? What benefits do you get from them? And what potential risks could there be in doing these particular exercises? When a person speaks with the authority of any faith, they could be wrong, or they could be cherry-picking ideas to suit an agenda. But thankfully, the free market of ideas allows us to move freely from one denomination to another, and to learn any particular methodology that is good for oneself at the stage that one is in at any particular time. Movement and change is good. So therefore, we can safely say that religion and religions in society are actually and can be a good thing, provided that we apply our intelligence to the information that we are receiving and the things that we are doing. Now let's have a look at the other side. What is it that atheism has to offer? Well, unfortunately, the answer can be summed up in one word. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Being an atheist doesn't mean that you are more scientific or rational. It does not mean that you have any other extra qualifying criteria. It simply means that you have a disbelief or a lack of belief in one particular concept, but not necessarily all concepts that are spiritual. It offers nothing by its very nature and can't have any stance of its own. It's not there for the therapeutic improvement of the individual. It has no intention to do good at all. But we can also state that on its own, atheism can do no harm either. But if atheism is a null position, surely it is free from the misuse of power or ideas that is present in some forms of religion or religious ideology. Unfortunately, the basic answer to that would have to be no. Just as there are pundits who are religious and who will stop at nothing to influence people for their own benefits, so there are atheist pundits who are the same, and in some cases worse. Both positions have cult leaders who have a cult following and seek to influence society from the level of the human being upwards. My view is, why not try and take the strengths of both positions rather than to look at only the weaknesses of the other. The performance of mind-altering exercises, the reading of text for contemplation, and the listening to broadcasts for the purposes of adjusting one's mind can, at times, actually be a good thing. You're actually doing that right now, and probably every day on YouTube, for instance. But in reality, the debate is not whether religion or atheism is better, but what views can be expressed by both atheists and theists alike. Which ones are better for society and for the individual, and how can that be reflected in broadcasts and texts and forms of contemplative activity? This is what is really important, not whether someone is an atheist or whether someone is a theist. Maybe the best outcome is a stalemate between these two warring factions. Thank you for listening.